Hey dancers, welcome back to Broche Banter. I'm your host, Julie. Today we've got the first of a three-part series all about making it as an adult ballet company. We are in part one today, building an audience beyond friends and family. I hope you stay tuned next week for part two, all about how classical our performances should or could be. And episode number 3 will be all about inclusivity, value, and visibility of adult amateur dancers. In part 1, I welcome 4 visionary artistic directors who founded their own dance companies to explore the evolution of adult ballet. We talk about the realities of running a dance company, from creating performances and building audiences to fulfilling adult dancers' dreams of performing on the stage. Our amazing guests encourage dancers to step into the spotlight and show the audience that ballet isn't rigid or boring, but a living, evolving art form that inspires and enchants entire communities. This very special episode reminds us all that ballet makes a difference. Whether it's the audience watching or the dancers on stage, ballet can transform lives. And with that, I hope you enjoy this amazing episode. Welcome to Broche Banter, everyone. I am so happy to have you here. I'll go around the table and introduce everyone. Erica, welcome. You are the founder of Tournesol Dance and the Rochester Adult Ballet Company in Rochester, New York. Welcome to the show, Erica.
Thank you so much.
We also have Leigh Purtill, the founder of the Leigh Purtill Ballet Company out in California. Welcome to the show, Leigh. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
And we also have Amanda, the owner and artistic director of the DreamWorks Performing Arts Center. We're so happy to have you today, Amanda. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Kelsay, the co-founder of the Facet Dance Collective out in Arkansas. Welcome back. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
So we're talking today about how to make it, how to put together and make it as an adult amateur performing arts company. And we're going to talk all about these great details. First question I have for you all: do you use the word adult, amateur, ballet company? What is your take on these words that describe your ballet company or collective? Erica, I'll start with you. You guys describe yourself as the Rochester Adult Ballet Company. What was your thought process behind choosing those particular words to describe what you are?
I wanted to stand out here in Rochester. We have a professional company here. And I wanted to let people know that we are all adults. Also kind of highlighting that we have quote unquote real jobs, but we also perform. The other reason behind it is amateur kind of leaves you the term that they aren't being paid. And that is a goal of mine, to pay my dancers. So I wanted to leave that open. So that's why adult versus amateur.
Yeah, great. And Leigh, you are the Leigh Purtill Ballet Company. So none of those modifiers. What was your thought process in creating your company name?
Well, when I literally said, I don't know, let's just call it the Leigh Purtill Ballet Company. I mean, it really was that simple.
Yeah.
When we started, I mean, my ballet school, whatever such as it is my ballet classes, it was called Leigh Purtill Ballet. And so we just added company to the end of it because it was that group, as opposed to me, ballet company. It was the Leigh Purtill Ballet Company. But we do describe ourselves, especially, in grant proposals, as a nonprofit adult amateur ballet company. I've been trying to get away from that and focus more on the hybrid nature of the company, it being remote and in-person dancers. So I feel like that, just like as Erica was saying, you wanted a modifier that would help you stand out a little bit. I was thinking that is what we want to have stand out for our company. That was a long way of saying this. Your show is going to be like 3 hours long.
I'm here for it. Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Yeah. And then Kelsay, for you are the Facet Dance Collective. So you've got collective, you've got dance, not ballet, and you've got no adult or amateur anything in there. So tell us about your collective name.
Jessica and I, my co-founder, we talked a lot about these nuances before we settled on a name. For a couple different reasons, we chose to go with this because we liked that collective enabled more of our vision for it than company, because we have visions for Facet Dance Collective that don't fit in the particular company model. And we didn't want people who know what a company is to put those expectations on us when that wasn't really our goal. We also knew that we wanted to do more expansive styles than just ballet. And so we went with the broader dance. Well, most of our productions are based in ballet. Like our spring production is very little ballet and a very diverse range of styles. And so we wanted to make sure people didn't just think of us as ballet.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of went with those two things. And then we didn't put adult in the name. I'm not actually sure why we did that. I think we just left it in the tagline of like, we're an adult dance collective.
Yeah. You know, the word adult has such it's so interesting that for all of us coming into ballet, ballet is default kids, right? That's kind of the default setting of kids. Whereas something like ballroom is like default adults. And like it would be kids, it would be ballroom is ballroom, and kids ballroom would be ballroom for kids. Like for ours, it's like the opposite situation. And I find such funny things with like the word adult, because like it could mean, if someone doesn't know what it is, like that it's an adult, like a little scandalous,
Yes,
rated like adult, right, Amanda? Like it's like like an adult show. Like what does the word adult mean? And then technically professionals are also adults too. They just happen to be people who started as kids, but they are technically adults when they are performing as professionals. So it's such an interesting label. And obviously I have the International Adult Ballet Festival, so I use that word adult too, but I like often, have, mini life crisis. Like, should the word adult even be in here at all? Like, what are we doing? What are we, what does this mean? So yeah, it's really interesting to hear all of your thoughts. How about you, Amanda? Any thoughts on this particular verbiage?
I feel like there's a lot to say in both directions. Especially here we are in 2025, and you'll see on a lot of social media platforms, this is great, a huge uprising of adults, regardless of what their past experience may or may not be, finding interest in joining ballet to whatever caliber. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like in one aspect, it could be important to have the word adult somewhere in there, because I think for those who are part of the adult ballet community, it kind of says, here we are, here's something that you can do. And I think with the whole amateur part of things as well, right, that could offer some level of comfort to adults, again, regardless of where their skill may lie, that, oh, I might be able to be part of this thing. On the flip side of those, I think that when those words are used in certain contexts, it can potentially deter some people, or people who are more, we'll say, ballet critics, whether they really are or not, may find either or both of those words to kind of lessen the value or their expectations of what's going to be put out by that group or that performance or that thing. I also think as well that a lot of times when a company or similar is created and more people take part in it, even if it is technically amateur or is only for adults, sometimes people come into that and they're not necessarily amateur. They may have had a history of professional career, things like that. They may have been pre-pro, whatever the case may be. So I feel like there are pros and cons to these, truly.
Yeah, it's so nuanced, right? And I think that each of us had our decisions why we put our the specific name together. And it really kind of is a segue into, the purpose of this part of our chat is to talk about, how you build your audience, like beyond just family and friends. Not that there's not great value in performing for your family and friends, but I think one of the things that we want to be able to do, all of us here, is to be able to share our art with the community, with a broader audience than only the people who are, close to us and kind of know our story. Like, how can we really reach people? So, you had talked, Amanda, about these words kind of lessening the expectation of what people might, be seeing when they go to it. And that's a really interesting thing. One of our questions, like, what does marketing look like for your performances? How are you setting the expectations of what the person is going to get when they come to your show? So I'm curious how you all have positioned marketing your company, your shows.
Well, I'll start. Because our company's mission is ballet for everyone, that's part of like how we do that's the focus usually of our marketing for the shows that we do. So with an emphasis on the everyone part. So we're trying to reach out beyond the ballet, what do they call ballet domains, right? The people who really, really love ballet and, or people who actually participate in it so that they realize that, oh, this is something that they could enjoy too. So our goal is obviously, as you say, reach beyond friends and family, but with specific interest in people who don't go to the ballet. So I don't want to compete with, I mean, it's not about competition anyway, but when we're in Los Angeles and there's a lot of ballet here, there's a lot of, professional dancers, really wonderful companies. And I'm not looking to compete with Los Angeles Ballet for their audience. I want to reach the people who LA Ballet is not reaching for whatever reason. I want people who to come. So I think that's what our marketing tries to focus on.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off of what Leigh said. The same thing for us. So we are the fourth largest city in New York State. We are behind New York City itself, Buffalo, Yonkers, and then there's Rochester. We have a very, very large arts community here. We also have a professional ballet company here, and I'm not trying to compete with them, but what I want is I want to connect. I want to connect with the everyday person that might not feel welcome to go to a ballet because they can't resonate with the person on stage. I also, our kind of tagline is come see the ageless look of dance. So I really focus on from in the company, you have to be, I think we have a limit of 23. You have to be at least 23, and then it goes up from there. There are obviously little things here and there that we might change for certain people, but 23 is it. And then from there, it's not how tall you are, your color, your weight, anything like that, gender, nothing. It's your passion to dance. So then the person that's sitting in the seats can see somebody that looks like them and go, oh, that's me. That's me. That's me up there dancing. And that brings in a whole new audience. Leigh helped me so much start RABC. And one of the reasons why we do a Nightmare Before Christmas, we don't do Nutcracker. I don't want to do that. I don't want to compete with that. We started with A Nightmare Before Christmas because it's a little culty and adults love it. And then you can also bring your kids. Okay. So you grab in all of these things, and it's not a lot of people that would go to the Nutcracker, but they are seeing ballet. I don't know how many times I've heard afterwards, that was ballet. That was so neat. I would go and see something like that again. So that's what I want to do. And I guess along that lines, that's why I also like to kind of put out there that, yeah, we're adults and we're not professionals. And I keep the bar high for my dancers. I want a certain level. And it's not that beginners aren't encouraged, but I want everybody to look beautiful. So if you can execute a beautiful tendu, that's what you're doing. We don't go cray because I want it to look really nice, and I want people to be able to feel that passion.
Yeah. There's some interesting points that I feel like you also get into, Kelsay, where you were talking about how, Erica, you were talking about how people can see themselves up on stage, and like that can have such an inspiring and empowered thing. And I think the second thing, which I heard after seeing when I was seeing your show, Garden of Dreams, Kelsay, was people talking in the audience, like how fun that ballet was to see, that they thought ballet was stuffy, or that they thought ballet would be boring, or that they thought ballet would be a certain way. And then hearing them say that after, in the audience after your show is like, we all know how fun ballet is. So I forget personally that other people don't think ballet is fun necessarily. Like by default, it kind of has this stuffy and rigid feeling, like people listening to like, highfalutin stuff. So it's really interesting. Kelsay, do you have any more on those points about what you guys do at Facet?
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts while both of you were talking, Leigh and Erica, but that was one of them that stuck out to me, is that after Garden of Dreams, I had so much feedback. So I guess to give the audience some perspective or context, Garden of Dreams is our adapted Nutcracker production. We do it in January. We changed the story, but we use the Nutcracker music. So it gives adults chances to be in things like Waltz of the Flowers and Snow, but the story is completely different. And I got a lot of community partnerships, like with local studios, mostly local studios that help support finding rehearsal space, kind of helping the process go along. And all of them were kind of like, sure, why not? But they didn't like fully buy in, but they all showed up at the show. And then afterwards, the amount of emails I got that was like, oh, I get what you're doing. I understand why this is important or why this matters or why we have this adult population in my small corner of Arkansas that wants to dance and perform. And we have no other performance opportunities for adults. Like all the schools around here limit it. You have to be a kid to perform. Or maybe you can be in party scene as an adult, but that's, you don't get to dance in those party scenes. You basically just are character actors. Yeah. Yeah. You hold a glass, you walk around, you hug a kid. Like right. It's not dancing. And we have so many adults in this small little corner of the state that want to perform, want to grow as dancers, want to be in core roles or even soloists. That was a really interesting, how the conversation shifted from during the process and forming the partnerships to they've seen the show and they're like, oh, this is actually a thing. Like, I really enjoyed watching this show. Like, wow, I didn't think this was going to be to this level or this quality. Like, how did adults do this? And for me, it's like, well, why would you even doubt that? Like, but I'm also so in this world that I see how much richness adults have to bring to the stage. The other point that stood out was, I'll be the first to say, marketing is not, we're in the development of our marketing. We don't really market, honestly. But one of the things we do is that our spring show is performed at an academic conference. And so we're actually not targeting a dance audience at all for that show. We are targeting the academic professors and researchers that are coming to the conference already to just stop by and see our show. And so we formatted the spring show very differently to sort of invite people in to say, hey, you may not know anything about dance, but here's how you can engage with a piece of art that might be unfamiliar to you, or here's how you actually get to co-create this space with us.
Wow, that's a good idea. Yeah, you almost go to them, right? They're not going to come to you, so you go to them. Yeah. Anything, Amanda, that you want to add on here?
I think that the adult ballet community, it as everyone has touched upon, it's really showing people that there are opportunities and possibilities beyond being a kid in dance class. And personally, I hold adult ballet classes here, and some choose to perform and some just want to take a class, which is totally fine. And a lot of times it is those folks themselves who are doing a lot of the marketing for me. And whether it's sharing a post on social media or they're just going out and spreading the word because they're coming in and realizing this is really fun. And maybe they've done it in the past and maybe they haven't, but the pressure is gone. And I think that is a huge thing. The only pressure is if they're putting it on themselves. And so that has been a huge thing for me. And I think that that is something that every group could have, is the people within, if they're having a good experience, to go out and share it and share what their class or their company or group is all about and how it might be different from dancing as a kid or dancing at a professional caliber, whatever the case may be. And just for the community to see during performance opportunities. I think that's so much of what adults have to bring to the stage, is that they're thoroughly enjoying themselves. They've chosen to do this at this point in their life. And at that point, you have so much less, like negative thoughts or I have to look this way or be this way, or level up to this, right? Like you're only, competing against yourself, if that, right? So it's like, that is all an excellent way to convey that, and the audience sees that. And then in turn, the audience is able to also go out and say, look, there's this great, unique thing happening. So marketing within ourselves.
Erica, did I see some wheels turning?
Yeah, so kind of the idea, like, and yes, I want the audience to see that we're having fun and everything like that. I guess I was reflecting on my dancers, my adult school and everything. And for to hear Amanda say, like, oh, they're having fun and there's no judgment on themselves. And all I'm hearing is from some of my advanced dancers, the little jerks that are in their head sometimes that are like, you suck at dance, you shouldn't do that. Da, 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 da. So it's not just dance sometimes that I feel like I'm giving, but also some little bit of psychology in class and helping those maybe dancers that were wounded when they were younger kind of try and find that. So yes, I hope that that's what it is, but there are a few specific dancers, and if they're listening to this, they'll know exactly who I'm talking about, because we just had to have a little discussion in class about being so negative on ourselves. So that's where the wheels were turning. So I hope that, everybody sees that and goes, wow, this is a lot of fun and they're enjoying it, and look at them go, and I want to do that. I hope that's what it is. I just need some of my dancers to see that too, how much they actually do inspire people, right, and to take those little monsters out of their heads sometimes.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're our worst critics as adults, trying to get better and trying to, do things, and sometimes feeling the limitations of our body, or feeling the race against the clock, or like whatever things that we might be feeling in ourselves. You made one point that I want to dig into and ask everybody is, like, you mentioned that these dancers, and probably all dancers, need to actually, I hope they all know that they actually are inspiring people. Like, it can be a mindset shift when you're first starting to perform in adulthood. Like, we're used to seeing kids perform and we're used to seeing professionals perform. And there's that in between moment that we're not as used to seeing. Right. But there's this in between moment where people can sometimes feel on that roller coaster of getting ready. Like, nobody wants to look at this. Nobody wants to look at me. They're just going to humor me, or they're just being nice, or they're just clapping because they're being nice, or whatever it is. But I think people, at least from the festival, the feedback that I hear from people who come to see the show is just how inspired they were by the dancers who stepped onto the stage, and just how much of an impact it made on their life in the audience. And I think that people who are performers can sometimes not even realize the ripple effect that they have when they step onto the stage, and just how many people in the community they inspire. So I'd be curious to hear from you guys. Maybe we'll circle back around to Leigh. Like, has that been for you? Do your dancers feel that they've been inspiring people? Does the audience feel inspired? Like, what has been the actual feedback that you get from the audience after they watch a show?
Oh, for sure. I think that the dancers, I know that the dancers inspire other people. One of the things that we get, immediate feedback on is like in classes. So where their friends or the people that they know, like, I always tell the dancers, make sure after the show, you don't just disappear for a while, come back to class, because the people who went to see you are going to be there, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, you were so great. I love this. And then you get that immediate feedback, like, yeah, and they all think that. And then also when I will tell the dancers, hey, so-and-so was inspired to join us or to audition for us because they came to see your show. They loved watching you perform. And I think that reminds people of the impact that they can have, the influence that they can have on others. Well, one thing I have seen a progression. We've been around since 2017. And at first, I think, at first it was like we're all DIY, right? All of us here. And so, you rely on your dancers to go out and tell other people, hey, come on and see me. And the first couple of years they did that. And, then the audience grows. And then at some point it gets to this point where sometimes you have dancers in the company, because our company changes a lot. It's a pretty big number. And we'll have some dancers who are too shy to promote themselves. And it's like, you're doing great. Just tell people get people to come to the show. And I think what happens with those people is I try to change their mindset and say, tell people to come see the company, see the show, not you. And so then I think there are some people who respond to that. And I think so that's kind of why it's nice to have a company versus like, like a school recital kind of situation, where, here's a show, they can tell the story of it. And then that can bring in people, as opposed to, so that those little voices that are telling them that, oh, they're not going to want to see me. It's like, well, I'm part of this other thing. So I think that can help too. And Amanda, as one of my remote dancers who also danced in person for the first time, she's in Massachusetts, came out. She probably has a pretty good handle on that too. You have a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I have performed forever, so I'm like, yeah, come see me. But I absolutely, I get it. Erica was talking about those little nagging voices and touching upon what Leigh was just saying. It's a tough thing for some to work through, because even if you're doing it for yourself, the class, and then you decide to perform and you're having a good experience, yes, if you are coming from a dance background, you might already have those voices of whether they developed from yourself or maybe a former teacher. Unfortunately, it happens. So it's working through that. Or if you're newer to ballet and you're doing this for the first time, or dance, as a full-fledged adult, it can be really hard to put yourself out there, and it can be scary enough to just get on the stage, but to have people that you know and you're inviting yourself come see. So that can definitely be challenging. And I could see, even with my participation in the last show, Sweet Sorrow with Leigh, how some of that kind of was transpiring, and the constant message of, come on, we need to build our audience. You want people to be there. We want to open the curtain and have folks, like, yes, we need to sell tickets, but beyond the financial part of it, we've put so much work into this. Leigh has the costumers, the set design, and then the dancers. It is a big, huge effort for months. And this is the work that we get to show at the end. And we're all deserving of having people in those seats and watching what has come to fruition. So I think, yes, there's a push within the dancers as well. And that is a journey within itself of trying to get people to understand that, and then to maybe fight against that internal, like, I don't know. So that way everyone can see all the amazing things happen.
Yeah, you need some of that little kid energy, like, come on and see me. I want to dance. Come see me,
Yeah, in our process, I talk about it as, I sort of normalize it for them, in that I always have a pre-show meltdown, the part of the project where I'm like, it all is terrible. I hate it all. We need to change everything. Like, no one's going to like it. We shouldn't go on stage. And I talk about, like, I have this moment. It's predictable. I almost have it down to like the timing of when in relation to the actual performance it'll happen. And I talk about that with the dancers. I say, this is a normal part of the process. You're going to have a moment in the process where you're like, why am I doing this? This is silly, but it's not. That's just a moment you have to move through. And then we also talk about that excitement and anxiety chemically in your body are the same thing. So like somatically, you experience anxiety and excitement the same. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious to go on stage, you can reframe that and say, wow, I'm actually really excited to go on stage because there's a risk here. I'm vulnerable. I'm experiencing this adrenaline, these chemicals in my body, hormones. This is going to help me perform well. And so that simple reframe just takes it from a place of judgment and paralyzing to a place of like action and movement. And I found that for adults, just giving them that little bit of context helps them. I'm also a mental health therapist. So like they know that I do that in my day job. And so they do allow me the freedom to have these kind of conversations with them, I think, in a unique way because of my day job.
I call that the all hope is lost phase of any project. I think all projects have the all hope is lost phase.
No one's going to understand this story except me. Ugh,
Yeah.
it's all, yeah.
Yeah. Or, you can't remember choreography. You keep forgetting it. You remember this part, then you forget that part, or like whatever's happening. Erica, do you find that your performers are more or less nervous to perform for their family and friends or random people?
That's a really great question. And I think it depends. It depends on who I'm talking to. Um, I think my dancers who have been dancing for a while are much more nervous to dance for their friends and their family because they've seen the progression.
Mm.
So if they're taking on maybe a bigger role or they've seen them do the same role like twice, two times now, like their family knows. Like my husband's not a dancer, but he will come to all of my shows and he'll be like, that was good. That was really good. Or, what happened there? Like he might not understand all of
He
like
knows.
the ballet terms and things like that, but he was like, there was something going on that I didn't like. So yeah, I know for myself, I'm definitely more nervous when I perform for family and friends. If it's somebody in the audience I don't know, I'm like, who cares? Let's make them smile kind of thing. Yeah, for me, there's no skin in the game on that. But yeah, and I feel like you guys are so much nicer than I am because with this idea of like dancers like not wanting to perform, I'm like, why are you in a company? Why? Go take class. Come take class with me. You don't have to perform. You have that option. Or if you're not around me, go take class with Julie. Okay? She's got an online thing. That's more your speed. But if you're here in a company and companies perform and you don't want to, or you don't want to tell somebody, what are you doing?
Erica, I need you. Right, Amanda? I need you to step in. I was like, can I just like click on and go, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Erica. She's going to talk to you all.
Should we just cut that video out? Should we just cut that little spiel that Erica just gave for you to use?
I think, Erica, we probably are all too nice. We need that energy sometimes of like,
okay, because that, like, Erica, is what my dancers call Scarica.
Scarica!
Scarica comes out, and she will come out towards the end of a performance when I'm asking you, I'm like, what are you doing with your tendu? We point our feet with the tendu, and it's a straight leg. What is going on? Because we're 2 weeks out, and I'm still explaining a tendu to us. Okay, we can't do that. Maybe that's also the competition side of me because I have competition for my adults and they're being judged. So maybe that's also it. But yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, if you don't want to be in the company, that's okay. You don't have to. You're volunteering your time, and I know it's a lot of time. And I want you to look great. One of the biggest things that I tell my adults anytime they perform, showcase, competition, or in the company, I'm not going to let you go out there and look like a jerk. No, it's not going to happen. But if you don't want to be here, that's okay. But then this is not the right spot for you to be dancing. If you're ready to try something lower, then I do have a showcase, which is like, it's much more laid back. Typically it's outside. It's during the morning. There's no big lights or anything like that. And I tell them, I'm like, you don't want to invite anybody? Don't. This is your time for you. So yeah, so I guess that's my difference. So
all right, so we need a little Scarica in our all hope is lost phase, people. Let's I think it's a very interesting thing with people performing sometimes for the first time in adulthood. There's like this strange dichotomy between desperately wanting to be seen and recognized and a terrifying fear of being seen and recognized. It's like an odd like dichotomy that I think a lot of people work through in their first time performing, where they know that they want to do this and they're like, this is for me, I've got to get myself out there. But then they're equally like, I would rather die than step onto this stage and this like and do this choreography. I think it's a very like I think especially with new performers, I think you do get that sort of like gears grinding, like they're trying to get out there, but they have a really hard time with it.
Yeah, there's definitely an education process that we have to handle. I'm sure you see that, all of you see that, is that especially for dancers who come to us as adults who've never had that kind of experience, you have to explain. There's a lot that you have that we already have absorbed as children, or going through the process growing up. You just sort of learn it as you go, and reminding ourselves as artistic directors or choreographers is like, oh, okay, these people need to be these dancers need to be educated on the performance process, like you say, what you go through in your mind, like that sort of thing, tricks that you can use to remember choreography, and just like stage etiquette and things like that. It's like, I can't tell you how many people times I've had to say to people, stop talking in, because you are going to be talking on the stage, and so just things like that we've all absorbed, and now we have to teach them, like things that you forget. Like, I remember teaching somebody about wearing false eyelashes on stage, but I have my eye, no, gotta get those big fat, so just things like that. But one thing I wanted to mention about the family versus strangers is that what we try to do is a lot of outreach. And I think that kind of helps get some of our dancers used to not performing in front of friends. So we do one of the things we attend almost every year, is a horror convention, right? Especially because our signature show is a Halloween ballet. And that is up close and personal with people. Like, they're in costume, they're in character all day. And so you are right next to people, and you're doing zombie sway, or moving in character. And so that gets some of our dancers out of their shells. And I've seen it happen, because we see like these sort of shy dancers, and then they have to like get right into somebody's face. And I think that sort of thing can also help, so I guess that's like throwing you into the pool, right? So.
Kelsay, did I see some wheels turning in there right before Leigh started chatting?
Yeah, but it takes us back to a previous point.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's a short story. I didn't start dancing till I was an adult. And so I went through the phases of being in performances where I wasn't educated about what was going to happen. And it was very overwhelming. And so I think I actually overcompensate sometimes and overeducate my dancers on, here's what stage lights feel like, here's what the process. But the trick I use in my head is I imagine my dancers as their like 5-year-old selves, and think about when we put a 5-year-old on stage for recital, all the things we talk them through multiple weeks in a row. So we like talk through the narrative multiple times, so that when we get to playing out the narrative, their bodies are prepared. And it helps me remember, like, yes, these are adults and I'm using adult language, and they have these high level processing skills, but they don't actually know what stage is like. And so they need this narrative multiple times in high detail to not just freak out when they're on stage and there's lights and there's people, and like it feels different and the air is different, and like running around feels different, getting on and off stage feels different. And so that's just a little trick I use in my head.
With your various companies and performances, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what what you bring to the community, what you feel as the value that the community is receiving, right? Because we're just talking about the performers, their friends and their family, but like when you think about how much your community is enriched by what you're doing, I'd love to hear some thoughts about that, whether it's your performances, your shows, your outreach. I'd love to hear about how you feel, and have heard feedback on how your performances impact where you live. Maybe Amanda will hop down to you.
Sure. I think that outreach is super important because you're going to different parts within a community and bringing ballet, bringing dance to them. And For some folks, they don't have access to performing arts regularly for whatever reason. They might not have the time to take that time for themselves to go see a performance. They might not even know really what it's about or be interested initially. So being able to reach out to different kinds of people in different places, you're getting the word out, but you're also, honestly, for some, you're making a difference in people's lives. I have dancers, youth and adults, that I bring to nursing home facilities, and that is a different kind of outreach, but that's, I mean, it's like the highlight of our season because those people sometimes don't even have anyone to come visit them. So we're bringing joy and we're bringing performance, entertainment, and even just the communication afterwards, chatting and answering questions and asking them about their lives. So I think that element is really special and really important. Yeah, I think I just like got off topic a little bit, but
No, it was great. That was, I mean, it's exactly just how how your dance impacts people. Because I think it can be easy to think that like your dance doesn't matter or it's not important. And I think some people, people deciding to start adult ballet companies or ballet collectives might feel that way. And so to hear from you all about the difference that you can make, I think would help inspire anybody who's thinking about starting something, that you can actually make an impact in your local community, maybe even at large, if you obviously have there's some of you that do virtual things as well, but that you can actually make a difference in people's lives and that it is a worthwhile pursuit.
And if I can just add something, I also think at a more intimate level that in adulthood, it can be challenging to form friendships and long-lasting ones. We're also busy with everyday life and families and whatever the case may be. So I think that ballet and dance, having the opportunity to do those things as an adult, even if you are not doing it in a professional manner, that is a chance to meet people and to connect with people who share a common interest and want to be involved in something together, something really beautiful. And I think that is really important too, because it can connect people within the group or within the company and then also beyond. And you have a focal point to begin with.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And so many of us became friends together here on this screen through dance and through all of this, right? When otherwise we wouldn't have had a reason to connect with each other. So yeah, that's a really beautiful point to remember. Erica, how about you?
Yeah, basically, very similar to what Amanda has said. We do a couple of events within the community before Nightmare goes on, because that's in October for us. Also, we participate in this event that's called the Al Siegel Walkabout, and it's for children with disabilities. They get to go to this mall and they go around and they trick or treat. And there's lots of different vendors there and everything. And I believe this will be our 4th year doing it. But we get to go there in costume as the characters. And they come up to us and the kids are dressed up and some of the parents are dressed up. And then we get to tell them about our show, but then we're also in character. So like Leigh said, you're kind of practicing, you've got your makeup on. And that is my favorite event. I love it. I love seeing the smiles. I love meeting people and then hearing them, seeing some of them at the show and then have them being surprised. I'm like, wow, like you guys are all adults. Like this was my favorite. It was a bucket list for me. I got to play the lead last year. I wanted to play the lead in my own ballet. So I did that last year. And I had a little boy come up to me afterwards. He was dressed up because we do a costume contest at that. And he came up to me, he was like, "You were my favorite." And I was like, "I was your favorite."
Oh,
Life made. Like that meant something to me. So as a dancer, like, wow, that was just amazing. So I think it's twofold. I think, getting to go out there and to really meet people and bring them in and show them that there's different sides to dance. There's different aspects of it. There's different styles. I think that's awesome. We do a fringe fest in September, and we do contemporary there. That's a little bit more that vibe. And we call it contemporary ballet. But some of the people in the audience came up to us afterwards and were like, that was ballet. That was so cool. I would go and see a ballet any day now. And I'm like, yes, excellent. Because I don't want this art form to die. I think it is beautiful. So if that inspires them to go and see something a little bit more classical, yes, that's a win. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, 100% agree with that aspect of the impact on a community is the ripple effect that it has. And it's like, we want to keep ballet alive. And if people continue to put it in a little box and say, nope, it's only for these people, then other people will say, well, it's not for me. And so then every time they hear the word ballet, they go, yeah, we should cut funding to that. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be supporting that. And if my child wants to do that, I don't want them to do that. And if you impact people in a positive way and they say, oh, okay, oh, ballet's pretty cool. I like it. There's a lot of other things. And then they see the theatrical aspect of it. There's this can be done and this can be done. And there's so many parts to ballet, so many parts to a show, so many parts to a company that they, even if they never pursue it, that they have a positive feeling toward it so that they will help it stay alive among other people. So it has, instead of going, oh, that's like, I'm sure we've all had that experience with, with students who had such a negative, they might have had a negative experience in ballet as a child, and they come to it with a lot of trepidation, and that you have to overcome that as you teach them. And, if they'd always had like a positive, they'd had people around them that were thought positively, we might not have that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll get people who come to class as an adult and who took it as a kid, and they'll say, oh, why did I not like ballet when I was a kid? This is actually really fun and interesting. But I think ballet is tough for kids. You're just standing still a lot of the time. And I think a lot of that is difficult for children to get because it can be pretty tedious. But as an adult, you're like, oh, this is fascinating. Oh my gosh, like all of this stuff feels so cool. Kelsay, I'll finish with you on this one. How has the impact been for your community? I'm curious to hear how it goes at the academic conferences and everything, how it goes in your community.
Yeah, I've actually been reflecting on this because I just had to write a director's note for our program. And what I ended up on, I think, answers this question pretty well, is that dance was never meant to be just content. It was meant to be a vessel towards change and towards connection to other people. And so like when we just put a dance out there for it to be consumed, like that's not what it was meant for. And I think as our community at large, we've sort of lost the connection of the imperfection of like why art makes us human and why we find like why we love going to live performances. Like there's a feeling there that you can't really replicate anywhere else that I think our community often needs to be reminded of. And when you put adults on stage in particular and get to watch them play, get to watch them be imperfect, but also present this really high quality performance, people watching that can't help but be impacted by it. And I always go back to our first show we did, we had 6 people in the audience, 3 of which were family members. So we had 3 family members and 3 academic conference people. And one of the academic conference person stood up at the end and said, I'm gobsmacked. I'm going to be thinking about this for weeks. And we got an email from him this year, again, that was like, I still think about that performance. This is a year later. And he's a professor, he's older, never danced a minute in his life. I don't think he'd ever watched a dance performance because we had to explain like what a stage was and what dance flooring was and what's a wing. He was like, I don't know. I'm just going to put you in a classroom. We're like, no. We got to talk you through this. Like what, if we're going to perform at your academic conference, there has to be some sort of setup that's going to work. But like, that's not a person you would think it would be impacted by adults performing.
Right.
And there's so many more people out there like that are touched when adults perform of any level, whether it's at a recital, whether it's a company performance, whether it's our collective performance. There's so many stories that ripple far beyond what we will ever hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to keep myself grounded in that. There's going to be ripples, and I might get to see a tiny percentage of the stories, and to hold on to those to be able to believe in all the rest that I don't know.
Wow, that's really beautiful, Kelsay. I think there's so much to digest there. And I think there's such a big part about performing in adulthood that inspires people, even kids. There's this sort of idea that the fun has to end after you finish school as a child, that you pick one career and you stick with it for your whole life. And some of these narratives are, continuing to change as our world continues to change. But I think even people who are in their 40s and 50s can feel like, was this it for me? Like, did I miss my chance to do some of these things? And so seeing people who are out there doing these things at their age can see that, yeah, oh, okay, this is awesome. Like I get to do this too. Like even just this morning, my mom was in a community band performance a couple of weeks ago, and they're getting all the videos back. And this morning I was listening to her. She got to play the piccolo in Stars and Stripes Forever, which if you are a flute player is like the dream, that you get to play the piccolo in Stars and Stripes Forever. And so she sent me this YouTube video, and I was like tearing up watching this YouTube video. I was like, oh my God, Mom, you're so cool. Like you get to do all of this stuff. Like you didn't get to do it in high school, which was always a sore point. Always tough for her that she didn't get to do this in high school. And now she's doing it in her 60s, right? Like this is that you get, these dreams are still available for you to live throughout your life. Maybe not at the time that you initially imagined them, but like even that community band performance was a reminder to me this morning. Like, this is so cool. Like my mom is way older than me, and yet she is still dreaming new dreams and doing new things. And that was just such a beautiful reminder to me that there's so many more dreams to come, and that we, the sky is really the limit here. So it's so inspiring to see their performance. I mean, as far as that impacted me in my life, like it, gave me a boost for my day about all the cool things that are still to come between now and the age of my mom. Right. This is so cool. I would love to finish by giving everyone around the table a last kind of word on our chat today. Obviously, we'll be reconvening for a couple more, but on this topic of, reaching your community, on the impact and on the inspiration of it, I would love to give everybody one more last final closing thought.
I feel like what all of us here and others as well are creating at this time is just so important, and there's so much value to it. It's so layered, and we've talked about a lot of the different little bits that kind of come together and make something so unique and so wonderful. And I mean, personally, as Leigh said before, I flew across the country to come dance with her company, and I'm doing it again. And I feel like, with all of the performing that I've done in my life, whether it has been amateur performances or professional performances, there's so much to be said about these types of ballet and dance companies, because I told Leigh and I told the friends that I made out there that it felt like home. And that was in Los Angeles. And I know LA, has a certain vibe and everything. And like, I went out there and I did it. And I was so excited to do it again, because it was like, I was just surrounded by all of these people who had, as you were saying, like Julie, these goals and dreams at different points in their lives. And for some of them, that was coming to light for the first time, and they might be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, beyond. And I think that is such a magnificent thing. And for people out there who have always wanted to do something like this or come back to it, or maybe they have had a not so great experience in their youth and they thought that was it, or they chose a different career path, these are the opportunities that if you look, you can find, and more are coming to be. And it's so beyond worth it. And like, yes, there's sweat and tears and maybe some blood because it's ballet, it's dance. But it is so worth it. And it's so much more wholesome than a lot of the experiences that we go through dancing as kids in ballet. Not to say there aren't, but like we know how it is. We know how it is. And to go through a lot of the wounds and then to come into something so wonderful and be able to put that aside and do this. Like I feel like there's so much opportunity. So people who are thinking about it, you should absolutely do it. Be brave and find a way.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you also, Amanda, for being part of everything. You are a tremendous performer and just a wonderful company member. So she's such a joy. And she's also a great friend. So I think she's really terrific. And one of the things that I find and what I'm really inspired by with all of you is hearing my voice. I'm hearing my words, hearing the voice in my head being expressed through all of you. And it's like we all have the same goal. And I think it's that's what I love about it. It's like you all want the same thing that I want, from people from the community. You want to have the same impact. And I think that's tremendous. I think that I think one of the ways that we could potentially grow each of us grow is by that connection with each other. And it's like, is it the amateur adult dance company owners collective that we, sort of build on? But it's just like we all are saying, we're not in competition with each other. We are the boats that are we're rising with the tide. We lift everybody. And I think that the lesson that we can learn as the artistic directors is by watching the dancers ourselves. Like we watch Julie's group, I have dancers who take Julie's classes. It's like, you're a common denominator for a lot of people. And I think that's amazing. And so we watch the dance community, adult dance community sort of grow and connect on social media, in classes, online, etc. And it's like, I think we can do that too. And that can help us grow beyond our immediate circle. It's like, I want to grow to Erica's friends and family and Kelsay's friends. And you know what I'm saying? So I think that, I don't know, it just sort of struck me as we were talking, and I'm like, yes. It's like, oh yes, that too. And each of you are saying what I'm thinking too. And I feel like we can learn that same lesson. We're not in competition with each other. We are all connected. And I think that it's like if we can harness that power, I think we take over the world. No, but you know what I'm saying? I think that's a lesson that we can learn too, is that connection.
Yeah, Leigh, I was lucky enough that Julie got to come out and see our show. And that was one of the things that I had walked away from Garden of Dreams as like, this is my next dream, is how nice it was to just sit in a room with other people that teach adult dance or help adults perform and just be able to be like, this part was really hard for me. Like, can you talk about that? Or, hey, do you see this magic I see? And so I think that would be a really helpful thing as people are starting to start collectives. So I know when I started it, I mean, you guys were out there, but I didn't know of you yet. And so it was more like, who do I go ask these questions to? Is there anyone that would be willing to talk to me? And when I did get those connections, like everyone that I asked was more than willing to sit down and say, let me offer my advice. And so I would say if someone's listening to this, thinking about starting something or going out to perform somewhere, all it takes is an ask. The worst thing that can happen is they say no and you ask someone else, but you will get a yes because these things do exist. And then the other like phrase that keeps popping into my head is that failure is fun. And as a perfectionist, like that's one I have to go back to all the time. And I think most people who are drawn to ballet in particular are perfectionists. And we forget that failure is actually like the whole point, that we have to fail over and over to grow. We have to do a tendu incorrectly to know how to do it correctly. we have to fall out of our turns to find our center. And the same is true with putting choreography on stage or starting a collective or preparing for a performance. Even in the rehearsal process, think about how many times you have to fail until you get to, this is what I want to put on stage. And it's learning to kind of befriend that failure and not fight against it.
Okay, I have to follow all of that. Right. Yeah, I feel like you guys hit it right on the head. There are, I guess maybe why we all maybe started this, maybe was a little bit of some selfishness. And I mean, maybe even myself, like I know I can speak for myself. I wanted to experience a company. I felt like I had left some things on the table as a kid, and I wanted to experience those things. So because there wasn't anything already where I was, I decided to go out and make it. And there are, like I said, Leigh helped me so much launch RABC with ideas, how she does things, and it was very, very helpful. So anybody, like you said, if there are other people that are out there that are like, wow, I think this is something, I don't have this around here, I would love to do this. We are here to help and to help guide, because I want to continue to see this grow. I want to see more adults being out there and dancing and being like, wow, there's an adult show here and there's an adult show there. And not just like sporadically, that's how things start. But the more it grows, the better it is for all of us. And then for the younger generation too, because then they see, oh, this doesn't have to end. And that doesn't even just have to pertain to dance, but whatever your passion is, if you are passionate about skiing, it doesn't have to end when I'm, this age or whatever, or like other big sports, like gymnastics. Okay. I even know like there's some adult gymnastics stuff that is starting up around here. But yeah, so like things can keep going at whatever age we are.
Amazing. Well, Amanda, Erica, Leigh, Kelsay, thank you so much for the chat. I could speak for myself and hopefully for all of you as well. I'm going to leave this super inspired and be thinking about all the things that you guys mentioned and said for quite some time here. I loved the conversation, and I'm really looking forward to connecting again for part 2 and part 3 really soon. And then really excited to see where this goes. It sounds like it's going to go somewhere really great, and really excited for the, I guess, collective of collectives, if you could, if you could call it that to begin to form. So thank you again, everybody, for being here and for pushing dance ahead in your area. I love what we're all doing and can't wait to see where it all goes. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, dancers, I hope you had a great time with part 1 of 3 of Making It as an Adult Ballet Company. Next week, join me for part 2, where we're talking all about how classical our performances should be to draw a crowd. If you'd like to get in touch with any of the fabulous founders, I have all of their details in the show notes. And until next time, I wish you very happy dancing.